Thank you all again for coming. I'm Erin Gabrielson, and with me is Mackenzie Salisbury, and we are going to be showing you the ins and outs of ScholarWorks. This is an introduction to that. So as I said, we will have time at the end for questions. We'll try to answer your questions as they come in. Um, I'll let Mackenzie tell a little bit about herself in a moment, but I'll start with just letting you know I'm actually the Health Sciences Liaison Librarian. Mackenzie is our ScholarWorks expert and works with it all the time. I am more of just someone who knows how to go in and poke around. So many of your questions will probably go to her. But I've been with Walden for about 7 years in various roles, and it's been really interesting to watch this unfold from the idea of starting a digital repository to now actually finally having one. It's been very exciting to see that take place. So just to let you know, that's my role, and I will go ahead and pass this over to Mackenzie, and she can get us started with talking about more of the ins and outs of ScholarWorks and what it is.
Hi everyone, I'm Mackenzie. I am Mackenzie Salisbury. I am the Digital Repository Librarian, and today we're going to kind of go over what ScholarWorks is, why it's important, why you might be interested in using it, and hopefully you guys will find it interesting. I do work part-time, so I am also working as a full-time librarian at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, but I have a pretty varied background, and so it's been great, as Erin said, to kind of get in on the ground floor of this. So let me go ahead and can everyone see my PowerPoint all right? If somebody just wants to shout out in the questions box. Great, thanks guys. So kind of an introduction, this is who we are, which is great. So what is ScholarWorks anyways? And I don't know if some of you have maybe already played around with ScholarWorks or have seen other repositories, but basically what ScholarWorks is it's a digital repository, and here's kind of a complete definition of it. But generally speaking, digital repositories are basically man-created or institution-created databases that have a variety of content, mostly focused around research. Specifically for us, it's going to be anyone that's associated with Walden University, so authors including faculty, staff, students, and the content is generally going to be journal articles, research. For students, it's a lot of the dissertations for doctoral students. Oh, you're only seeing half of that. Sorry about that. Let's take a look.
I think I just closed your webcam. I think that helps so that we can see the whole slide.
Oh, great.
There we go.
Is that better?
It looks better to me. I think it is looking better for others.
No.
Let's see. No.
Hmm.
I've got it. There we go.
There we
I think
go.
it's good. Yeah, it looks good for me
Great.
now.
Sorry. Thanks
Thank
everybody
you.
for your patience. So I think we've caught back up now. So essentially what this is a way that we can collect all of the really great work that's being done at ScholarWorks, and not just from faculty but staff and students as well. But what we're going to focus on today, since this is all faculty, is how you all might use it, how other institutions use it, and kind of what the next step is once you're interested. So on top of being this repository, one step further, we are also an open access repository. And what open access, for those of you that don't know, is that it is the free and unrestricted access on the public internet to literature that provides scholars with articles free of payment. So essentially it is a way to share as well as access materials that are not blocked by paywalls or that are not in journals that require a subscription fee. So for instance, a lot of the articles that you get through the library right now, we pay for through a subscription service. And open access means that they're removing that kind of paywall or that requirement of a fee, and it's just going to be open to everybody. Similarly, some people have called it a digital archive, which is, I think, kind of a nice way in libraries to think of it as a way to kind of take a snapshot of the work that's being done within an institution at any given time, and it's something that isn't is really open to anyone who has internet access, I should say. So why is it important to contribute to ScholarWorks? Aside from it being kind of a neat thing to see your work come up in, it's definitely something that accelerates research, enriches education, and shares learning across nations. Because there is this open access feature, you're really given the ability to share your work as well as see others' work kind of across the world, which is really great. So particularly, I think the place that Walden fits in best with this is part of Walden's mission is this social change aspect, right? And so I think the great part about embracing open access, specifically with this repository, is that you're able to share with third world countries, developing countries, places that you traditionally might not have an infrastructure to support a major university or a thoroughly peer-reviewed journal. And this is kind of a way to go around that and really get researcher to researcher connection, which I think is really interesting. And then lastly, I think it's really great when you put your work on ScholarWorks, we are indexed in Google, which is really great, but also Google Scholar, so your work becomes a lot more visible. It's definitely something that I think people don't expect, because the minute you put something in ScholarWorks, there's then kind of a link that goes out to Google. So if you were to place something into ScholarWorks, you could Google your name or the title of your work, and it would come up right away as being in ScholarWorks. The other thing that's nice is because of the platform that we chose, we also belong to this larger network called Digital Commons, which is something that over 400 institutions and I would say most main universities use the same platform as a vehicle for their digital repositories. And so it's really a great way to kind of get into that world, but also really showcasing the great work that people at Walden are doing. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Erin. She's going to kind of go through how to get in and poke around.
Okay, great, thank you. So yeah, as Mackenzie said, I'm going to do just a little bit of a demo showing you where to even find ScholarWorks. Before I do that though, I actually want to do a little poll. And this is just asking if you had heard of ScholarWorks before you got the information about this webinar. So I'm launching a poll right now. And I'm just going to give people a moment to answer. This is mostly for our benefit. We just want to know, are we getting the word out enough? Is this something that we need to market more? And just to get an idea, you know, how are we doing with that? So that's one of the things I love about webinars is having actual interaction with people and being able to ask questions like this quickly. So it looks like almost everybody has done the poll, and it's very good to know that 60% of you who answered the poll are saying that you had not heard of ScholarWorks before this session. So, wow, that is so good to know. We need to step it up and tell our programs more. As I said, I'm the Health Sciences Liaison Librarian. There are liaison librarians for all the other schools. And except for nursing right now, unfortunately. But we definitely need to get the word out to our faculty then about this. So I'm going to close the poll. Thank you for those who participated. It's good to get that feedback. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is actually going to be me moving around, navigating, and clicking on things to show you how to get to ScholarWorks. So this is the library homepage, which I hope looks familiar. And you may not know, if you didn't know about ScholarWorks, you may also not know about our faculty toolkit that we have on the library website. I'm going to show you how to get to that right now. So from the library homepage, which you can get to through your faculty portal, or you can just type in the library homepage, which is right up here. But most likely you'll get to it through your faculty portal. You'll go to the Services tab up at the top and choose Faculty. This is actually a great go-to place just to learn more about what we can do to support you as faculty. So if I can just put a plug in for something else other than ScholarWorks, we do so much and we want to do so much for you. So you can come here and look at the library support for faculty. Really, if you click on any of these faculty services, you're going to be able to get to ScholarWorks, but I'll show you how to get there through the library's faculty toolbox. You're going to click on that. And like I said, everything's kind of linked to each other. But if you just start scrolling down this page, you'll see a button over here on the left that says ScholarWorks Faculty Support. So I hope that'll stand out. You don't really even have to scroll down very far to see it. It's right on the left there. It's a button. And just click on the ScholarWorks Faculty Support. And you will see information about ScholarWorks, but the word ScholarWorks right here is actually linked to it. So it's not like a special fancy place you have to go. You just go to the Services tab, you go to Faculty, and then choose any of these, and you'll see that ScholarWorks Faculty Support button on the left. So that's how you get it, but again, please explore the other things we have here for faculty and learn about other ways we can support you in the library. So I'm going to click on the ScholarWorks link here now. And I'm just going to point out some things. Like I said, I'm not the expert and I don't work with putting materials into ScholarWorks. So I think it's kind of good for you to get this from a perspective that is much like your own, where I am a user of ScholarWorks. I don't really do anything on the back end. So this is, I think, a good way for you to learn it from me. I like to just come in here, and one of the coolest things I think about our ScholarWorks site is this map when you scroll down. So when you just come in, you're going to see a menu, a browse menu, different menus on the left. But I just want to show you this really neat feature. This is a map showing where people are accessing or downloading materials from ScholarWorks. It's showing they're doing the most recent downloads, and it's not just people in the US, you can see all over the world, somebody somewhere has accessed and downloaded probably a dissertation from ScholarWorks. So I just think that's really cool to see the reach of this in sharing scholarly information and research. So that's fun. You can sit there and watch that for a while. But like I said, most of what is in here right now are those dissertations from students, which is fantastic. We're so happy to have that and a place to put those where they can be accessible too. But we really want more from faculty. And just to give you an idea of how sparse that is, I'm going to click on the faculty and staff publications, and you'll see from 2015 we have just a handful. So it's very little that we have from faculty, and we know that you are publishing and that you are doing great work. And there's just not a lot here, I mean, compared to the hundreds of dissertations that we have from students. So obviously, it's a great place for that, but we do just want to support you putting work in here as well. So I'm just going to go back now a page and show you other things that you would want to access through ScholarWorks. I think most importantly is how to get in touch with Mackenzie. If you do have further questions after this webinar, you can click on Contact, and this is the email that you'll want to use to get in touch with her if you have questions. And her name's there if you forget it, and her title. So just know that that is there. You can always go through the normal channels of contacting the library, but we will then, if it's about ScholarWorks, we will go ahead and send it on to Mackenzie anyway. So if you want to just get to her directly, it's scholarworks@waldenu.edu. You can read more about it, including the submission guidelines and FAQs, which I think are really extensive. I was very surprised at the level of information in there. You can also get to it on the left here under Contribute by going to Contributor FAQ. And I know Mackenzie's going to get more into this in a moment. Ask Going over, what can be included and permission and all of that. And I see we have a question about that already, so I'll save that one for Mackenzie. But I just want to show you by clicking on Contributor FAQ, really a lot of different scenarios are covered here. Everything from, whose responsibility is it to make sure it complies with copyright law? What rights do you have to have? What do you do if there are multiple authors? So much good information here in this FAQ. So if you go back and tell other faculty maybe, who aren't here tonight, hey, I went to the ScholarWorks webinar. It was so awesome. One thing you can do would be to forward them the email you'll get with the recording, and they can watch this recording. But also you can point them to these FAQs if they are curious and want to know more about submitting work to ScholarWorks. So finally, I'm going to show you how you actually submit work when you are ready to do so. We can go over here on the left, and it's always on the left. You'll see I went back to the main ScholarWorks homepage, and this stays the same. The left-hand menu is always static. And you would click on Submit Work. Now, when you do that, it's not just automatically a submission form. I think this is actually really cool that we are breaking things up into the different academic units in colleges and schools. So we can see it's a way to have everything indexed and labeled so we know what's come from where. It will allow people to explore and browse by the different collections and subject areas. So you do have to choose your school. Obviously, if I was doing this, I would choose library publications because that's where I work. But let's say you are in the School of Management. So you would click on School of Management Publications. At this point, you are going to have to create a new account if you haven't done so already. So you just have to do it once. It doesn't, it's very easy. I'll click the sign up just so you can see. All we need is basic information that you would expect from anything. And you don't have to use the same password. It's probably a good idea to use your Walden email address, but you don't have to use your same password that's for Walden anything at all. This can be a totally unique, different password. So just know that. And then I do have an account, so I'm going to log into it just so you can see what it looks like at this point. So again, I clicked on the School of Management Publications, even though that's not me, but this is what it will look like. There's a submission agreement, and it explains the process. So we do want you to make sure you read the agreement, and then you will include your information about yourself, about any of the other authors, and then you can upload the submission. So make sure you do read all of these guidelines and agree to them, before you do that. And again, this is what Mackenzie's going to get a little bit more into in just a moment about what are those and what is allowed and things like that. So it's quite long, as you see, but definitely read it, and then you would click that and press continue. Make sure you agree to it, and now we can actually put in the information. So it's, again, exactly what you would expect. The title, the authors, the type of document it is, and then you have your area where you can upload it, and you can also include an abstract. So pretty standard for submitting work that's scholarly and published. So again, I'm not the the backside expert, but I find it to be pretty user-friendly, just clicking around. You can't break it, so definitely click around, and if something seems strange or you're not sure how to fill out a field, you can always contact Mackenzie about that at the ScholarWorks email. But I think we managed to, well, not we, I didn't build it, but I think Walden managed to build a very user-friendly repository. I've seen some others that are just, if I may say, clunky. So I think this one's really great. And then also, you know, you can explore, and if you tell students about it, you know, they might be excited to get in here too and see the work from it, having work from faculty all pulled into one place. So I think that's a really great way for students to also be aware of the work that their faculty have done and published. So I'm gonna send it back on over to Mackenzie now because I know this is what you're all really excited to hear about is copyright. And again, we may not be able to get to all of your questions that are specific about a specific situation tonight. If you have a publishing copyright unique situation to yourself, we may not be able to get to that individual level. So feel free to email her with those questions. And also, we will have time. I will stop the recording after this next segment, and then so we can answer some questions maybe verbally that we might not want on the recording if it is about a specific publishing situation. So we'll just see how that goes. And I will go ahead and pass it back over to Mackenzie.
Great. Thanks so much, Erin. That was really great. Thanks so much. That was great. Let's see if I can. Wonderful. All right. And can you all see my screen? Just a yes would be great. Great. Thanks so much. So everything that Erin went over is really great, and as she mentioned, all of that is kind of written out in the faculty toolbox, so definitely take advantage of that. A couple of other things that are in the faculty toolbox that will be kind of redundant after this, but there is a short video tutorial that I kind of created about how to set up a ScholarWorks account, as well as you know, how to upload materials. And so those are included on there. You can check them out anytime, just in case you need a refresher. So now we're going to go over the big one for all of you. So how copyright works and how open access affects the things that you can and cannot put into ScholarWorks. So to touch on, and I think we'll definitely be able to touch on a couple of the questions that have come up in regards to this specifically, but just to have a good foundation, first thing is who owns copyright generally, and this can always, of course, get a little bit confusing, but generally speaking, whoever creates the work, whether that's art or a publication article or a PowerPoint, really anything, it's whoever has created it owns the copyright. Many times people work together, so if one or more people write an article together, then they're both going to own copyright to that work. It's really important if you work with other people, as I think most people tend to work, at least in research, there's usually more than one author. It's really good to, you know, kind of talk about your plans for an article and to make sure that there's a lot of clarity if you guys are interested in posting on ScholarWorks. It doesn't have to be from all the authors don't have to be affiliated with Walden by any means, but of course, you know, professional courtesy and the law requires you to definitely check in with them about posting it. So, who owns copyright in a subscription journal articles? So this is going to touch on a couple of the questions that have come up, mainly about how do you figure out if you can post things on ScholarWorks, especially if they've already been published. And basically, this is the long, lengthy explanation, but typically you're going to want to look at your publisher's agreement. Each publisher's agreement can be really, really different. Some publishers allow you to retain all of the rights and to publish openly anywhere. Some publishers require an embargo date. So for instance, they'll say, okay, we'll only have it published in our journal exclusively for 2 years. And then after that 2-year date, you're welcome to do with it what you want. Others will just give you full access and full rights always. And so it's really important to check your publisher's agreement. A lot of people don't know because it's one of those, long, lengthy legal documents that you kind of have to go through when you're publishing. And because open access has become such an important part of scholarship in general and research, there's this great website called the Sherpa Romeo website, and it has, and I've listed this link here, and it'll be at the end of the slide as well, but it's a really good starting point if you feel like you have no idea, or oh my gosh, you can't find the paperwork, or you email the publisher and you're feeling like you're not really getting a straight answer. They have a lot of really great resources, not just for policies that they already have from kind of the big name publishers, but they also have some really helpful tips on how to approach your publisher about something like that. So they have forms that you can fill out, kind of automatically generated letters or emails that you can send requesting, either requesting to get a copy of your publisher's agreement or requesting a change in the copyright rules as they stand. So it's a really great site. I highly suggest that you use it. It's definitely something that everyone in the open access community supports. And their website is really easy to use too, I will say. I've gone to it for a lot of things. So to kind of poignantly answer some of these questions, if you have, somebody had asked, oh, I've published in the Social Sciences Network, as a Walden affiliate, can I publish on ScholarWorks? And again, you want to make sure that whatever the original publishing agreement said that you are able to publish. I should also, I meant to mention this at the beginning, little asterisk mark, I am not a lawyer. I do have a fair amount of experience working with digital repositories and copyright for authors, but everything that I'm saying here is kind of the norm in the open access world, but I can't definitively say yes or no as the lawyer based on the law. So just a little asterisk. But most of these things, most of your work will fall into one of these three categories. So either totally you have all the copyright available, partial copyright, or that you've agreed to not publish this anywhere else. And there's also, on that same website, there are also ways that you can try to go about changing that as well. And it really just depends on who you've published with and how flexible they are. So generally speaking, articles that you have already published, as long as you have retained the copyrights, you can absolutely post them in ScholarWorks. I will also say there's a couple of workarounds to this. We really love to be able to include as much as possible in ScholarWorks, and so Erin had kind of gone over this. When you guys go to submit a work, you can upload the full text PDF, which is of course preferable as an open access repository, but you can also just add an external link. And so if you're feeling like you really want to contribute to ScholarWorks, again, because it's such a great way to get your work seen, what you can do is you can actually link out to the journal article in whatever on the publisher's website or through a database or something like that, and then also include the abstract. So it's just one more way for you to kind of get a little footnote in, and then they would be rerouted to the publisher's website, where they would either be asked to log in through an institutional account if they're at a university or other institution, or where they would be asked to pay for it, right? So that traditional $30 pay for structure. So even if you don't have full copyright, it's definitely okay to go ahead and do that. Again, if you're publishing with other people, you want to make sure that they're also okay with that. But also know, as Erin mentioned, you can't break this. So let's say you go through and you publish something and, oh my gosh, I don't have the right copyright, or oh my gosh, I didn't ask the author, or something happens, it's a pretty simple thing to take down. So it's not the end of the world if you do put it up and realize later that you haven't been. But of course, best practices is to, of course, check it out as much as possible before you do that, just for your own sake. So here are some other references that I think everyone should definitely check out. In general, I would say Spark, which is another great open access organization. You'll notice a lot of the other organizations that work with open access really do, they're really supportive of authors' rights, and so a lot of what they write about is your right to publish this work. And there's been a number of stories in the news within the past couple of years about how powerful open access can really be, really allowing research to kind of get to people that wouldn't otherwise have access to it, which is really great, and I think what it's all about. Somebody asked, will we be sending the PowerPoints? Yeah, I believe that everyone will get a copy of at least this webinar, and then I can ask, Erin, do you know if they can also get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Yes, the PowerPoint actually is now loaded in here under handouts. So
Oh,
if you
great.
go on your GoToWebinar screen that you see, go to handouts, and you should be able to download the PowerPoint there. And then it will also be attached when you get that email with the recording.
Great. Um, so I think that's just about everything that I have to cover, and hopefully I have covered everyone else's general questions. Does anybody else have a general question that I might be able to address about ScholarWorks or open access or the benefits or anything like that? All right, well, just wanted to thank everybody for coming today. And as Erin mentioned at the beginning, it's really good to know that most of you haven't really worked with ScholarWorks yet. And as she said, it's a really easy thing to kind of poke around in. And I think it's really user-friendly. I also mostly work on the back end. I would also say if you tell your students about it, a lot of them, when they graduate, they have the opportunity to have their works added, their theses added to the repository, and that's actually where we have the most works right now. But if you guys have other questions about that, feel free to send them to me. The only other thing that I wanted to mention that Erin, I think you touched on a little bit, but so beyond having our faculty and staff publications, which is great. We also have 4 open access journals, and those function just as all the other journals do. So it's kind of the same process. Again, you'll go through the same kind of submission process, and those links are all on the homepage as well. But if you're looking for somewhere new to publish, I always suggest checking those out. They're really interesting, and I think include people not just from Walden, but kind of all over the world, which is really nice to see and see your work kind of in comparison with other people. So I think that that is all I have. Is there anything else you can think of, Erin?
I
Oh,
can't, but
sorry, Jordan.
I navigated to that page so that you can see those journals that Mackenzie is talking about. So on the ScholarWorks page, I just went to collections, and then it lists all these different collections, and I maximized the list for journals. So you can see these are the Walden published journals that she was talking about.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I second the thanks for coming. I know that there was a little bit of a conflict with this time, so I'm glad that some people were able to come, and do feel free to share the recording that you'll get. Pass it along far and wide. We really do appreciate you being here and your support. So I'm going to stop the recording now, but we will hang around for a few more moments if there are more questions.
Thanks again.